Under 19 USC Section 1703, he can lose his reindeer and sleigh because it could be considered as a vessel outfitted for smuggling.
Before we get started with the show, here's a quick word from our sponsor, Global Training Center. As trade compliance professionals, you want to make sure that your procedures and documentation are completed as correctly as possible to avoid any delays and possible fines. We provide a range of trade compliance courses that will fit your needs. From in-person or web training to recorded on-demand courses, we can train one or even thousands on your team through your learning platform or on our portal. We can even customize a private session for your team. Go to globaltrainingcenter.com to find out more.
We're back, Andy.
Hello again. We're on for another show, and it's this time of year, Lalo. It's like we have been kind of crazy. As I think I had told you, you had tried to reach me, and I had just flown into DC and talked to you, and then I had flown back, and I had just got off the aircraft, and I'm standing in the jetway still. We're coming and going, and it's like it's been busy. So, Christmas parties, receptions, end of years type stuff. So,
right. Yeah. We just recently had our office party, and it was fun, but strange because it's the first time that we did that in 3 years, I guess, because it was kind of strange that we did not have one last year or the year before, obviously because of COVID, but coming back, it's like, how long has it been, So, but yeah, same thing with us. we you just get busy, and all of a sudden, but we're hoping that people are not too busy to listen into this episode. I mean, we have a somewhat of a good show, a silly show, and fun show, all mixed into one. So hopefully this will lift somebody's spirits or something, I guess.
Well, looking forward to it. This is always one of those where we have a little tongue in cheek, I guess, with the Christmas holidays as we're heading into all that. And I hope you keep your energy and your sanity up in this time of year. But won't you introduce our guests and let everybody know what we've got up our sleeve here today?
I've worked with this person. His name is Oscar Gonzalez, and his wife for, I think, almost as long as I've been in the business. Gosh, I've been in the business 30 plus years, and I think I've known him that long. Coincidentally enough, they're also from El Paso. Not that they are in El Paso; they're based out of Dallas, but they both coincidentally are from El Paso and grew up here. Maybe not all their lives, but anyway. And I just ran into them. They're trade attorneys, and they're great people, good couple. But today we have Oscar, half of that couple. We'll later in 2023 we have scheduled his wife Ruth to come in and talk to us about the broker exam. But we'll talk about that at that time. But anyway, Oscar's like I said, a trade attorney. They have their own law firm in Dallas. Known him for many years, and what I've always liked about Oscar is that he always uses a different twist or turn on trade. He makes it quite entertaining. I don't think I've ever attended any of his either talks or conferences or trainings or what have you, where you're just not laughing. I mean, this guy, he finds a way to, I think he should have been a comedian at one point.
Oscar, I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say about our Christmas holiday here as we're going through that. But it's a rare talent to be able to take anything from a regulation and or a law perspective and, make it somewhat entertaining, because it's about as like, let's watch paint dry. It's about as fun going through this stuff.
and by the way, he approached me and he says, let's do this topic right before we get started, just so everybody knows. The topic is Santa Claus a smuggler? Okay, so let's have him. Oscar, go ahead and why don't you let us know what's going on with that?
Okay, so the answer is yes, he is. And I guess with it, and with that, we're done, right? Is that at that?
Yes, that's it. We're done. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas.
Poor Santa Claus is in trouble.
I suddenly feel under a great deal of pressure to be humorous. And I'm not exactly
No, no.
sure that I can live up to your expectations. But what happened is like a couple months ago, I was thinking about Santa as one does during uh, this time of season, and I realized that he is the world's biggest importer and exporter. That was my first thought. And the second thought is that, well, if he is the world's biggest exporter and importer, he's doing it all illegally. Uh, uh, because he's not filing anything. He doesn't have any records. He just flies into your home, and he breaks in and he steals your cookies. Sometimes they're edible, and then he takes off. Uh, the FAA is looking for him. NORAD is looking for him. Always tracks him, um, and so so he is the world's worst, or is it the most successful smuggler? He's been doing it for such a long time.
There you go.
And I said, well, what would happen if he were to ask me, "Hey, Oscar, I've seen the light, the Christmas light, and I would like to reform my ways. What can I do?" And I would say, well, first of all, there's a matter of the fees. That,
we want to make sure you get paid for work that's being done here. Yeah,
because he's on the radar, so to speak, of so many countries. But I would first require that he fess up and tell me, at least in the confines of the attorney-client privilege, what his real story is, because none of us can buy into his story, right? And his story. His story is that he lives and works in the North Pole, right? That's his major story, and
right. Has his own country apparently.
Well, here's the problem with that. Now, imagine in your mind Santa's house or a row of houses, and there he is sitting with his wife in a rocking chair, right? And with his little his little helpers, elves working, right? And look, and you look out the window. There's lots of trees, right? Trees, beautiful trees. Christmas trees, pine trees. That is the first indication that it's all a ruse. He's not telling us the truth, because
he's not really in the North Poles, what you're implying.
There
are right?
No trees. I mean, here I can show you the picture. I know you can see it. Here is
picture of the North
30
Pole.
miles. That's 30 miles south of the North Pole, and this location is. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, this is Camp Borneo. It's a deserted camp from several decades ago. It's 30 miles south of the North Pole. But you can see there are no trees. There are zero trees. Because you know why there aren't any trees? Because there's no soil here. It's all ice, just ice. And keep that in mind with another facet. So he can't be living in the North Pole. And here's another problem. Have you ever seen a picture like this? Right? Can you see it? Is it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's Santa with three of his favorite pals. There's Snow Person. I call him Person because you can't assume. You don't know what,
male or female. Yeah,
there's a penguin.
A snow
and there's
entity.
a reindeer. Right? These are it. So the problem with this is that none of these exist in the North Pole. First of all, the penguins are all in the southern hemisphere, right?
Yes.
Except for some of them are just north of the equator in the Galapagos, but most of them are in the southern hemisphere. And in the southern pole. So there you have it. No penguins. Now the other. How about? Certainly there should be a snow person, right? There, right? But the problem is that even with climate change, you can't build snow people in the North Pole because it's too cold. You have to just be a few degrees above freezing. The snow has to be wet. Anything colder and it gets dusty and icy. And no way you can build a snow person. Though some people have tried, and I've looked, and you can Google it. Build a snow person, snowman in the North Pole or South Pole, and you can see the product from the people who tried. It's an awful workmanship. Um, they look like concrete slab because what they have to do is they cut through the ice and then form big concrete slab. Does not look at all like Frosty.
So it's not really a snowman. It's more of a ice sculpture type thing.
Like a robot. That's what it looks like. And the most important part is reindeer. You would think that reindeer would be in the North Pole, right? But if there's no vegetation in the North Pole, the southernmost place that the northernmost place that they'll live, I think, is in Russia or Norway, and that's so there are no reindeer. He cannot be living in the North Pole. He can't have a house there. So I realized, hey, there's an issue there. So
hey, Oscar.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know, or have you seen, or are you familiar with the Marvel comics? You know, all the stuff like Black Panther, for example.
What I don't deal with childish subjects, Lalo. I just
I was going to ask you.
Themes. I have nothing to do with comic books. No, what are you talking about?
I was going to say that.
Serious. I'm in the news. I want to deal with real. No, who was it?
I was going to say that North Pole could be like Wakanda. You know, people just don't see it.
Maybe. But here's the
That's
issue.
The magic factor.
Science recognizes the North Pole as just water, just ice. It's not a continent, and it certainly is not a country. So there's the first issue with either export and import is country of origin, right? So when's the last time that you saw anything with a made in the North Pole label?
Good question.
Exist, right?
I don't think I haven't seen it.
Because it wasn't made in the North Pole. Otherwise it wouldn't be called country of origin. It'd be iceberg of origin label, and there's no such thing. So there's the first issue that Santa has, and that's why I would encourage him to be more accurate. Make sure his supply chain reflects whatever whatever origin is, and I would like to focus on the thing he's mostly known for, and that is toys, right? And the most more specifically, the kind of toy that I like, and that is a teddy bear. I think they're a teddy bear. So if we just think about the issues with importing teddy bears. By the way, I just brought this guy along just because I think he looks a lot like George Bush, and most people, does he look like? Anyway, but teddy bears, right? I won this teddy bear in Disneyland at a basketball shooting gallery. I made 4 jump shots in a row, by the way, so yay for me. But where was I? Country of origin. Now the funny thing is that if you picture again the Santa's factory, you can see it. It's in your mind's eye, and as advertisers can see like 10 maybe 7 something tables with a lot of small people. I won't use the word elves, and they're all working away, and they're using mallets, they're using screwdrivers, glue,
nails, and
nails.
Things, yeah, and screwdrivers.
Now, we were kids once. Did we ever get anything that looked like it was made with mallets, wood, and no? That doesn't happen, right? That's not,
Well,
and it doesn't happen by. It's made. They're never been made by little blonde people speaking English. That's not what happens, right? In fact, most of the toys, a large amount of toys, are made in China, right? Probably like 98% manufactured. So I'm assuming that's where Santa has most of his factory production. And if he does do that, I would also caution him that he has to start working with our federal government. I think the agency is called, what is it?
The Consumer Product Safety Commission.
I think so. Yeah, the Consumer Product Safety Commission. It has to be. He has to test these things before being introduced into the U.S. market, and these test results sometimes have to be made part of the entry documents with customs. So that's really important. What else can I tell you that I would tell him? I would warn him against some of his first of all, he enters and products. Well, he doesn't enter problem. That's the problem. He doesn't do customs entry, right? He doesn't do
circumvents the whole process here. So he's going to have to do a voluntary disclosure here.
Well, he has to do something because he's very prone on losing, having all his merchandise seized and forfeited, and probably paying fines and penalties, which are tied to the value of the merchandise. And I estimate he imports trillions of dollars a year. So imagine what the penalty would be, and even a mitigated amount would be a handsome amount.
Hey everyone, we're getting ready for another annual ICPA event coming up the week of March 12th in Orlando, Florida. If you have been thinking of attending any of the ICPA conferences, this is the one you should not miss. There will be more sessions than any other conference, with a guaranteed sellout, so hurry and get your tickets today. We are also excited to share that Simply Trade podcast will be in attendance, and we want you to be part of our show. Listen to episodes 14, 15, and 16 to find out why you can't miss this conference.
Well, the one thing about it would resolve the U.S. debt in one penalty, probably.
I'm hoping Santa has the
cash and the funds.
Unfortunately, he had it deposited on FTX. So
I was going to say he probably had it in the cryptocurrency there.
Under 19 USC Section 1703, he can lose his reindeer and sleigh because it could be considered as a vessel outfitted for smuggling, for example. And this is more interesting. Under 19 USC Section 1590, a statute that prohibits operating an aircraft or vessel without the appropriate lights. Without the appropriate lights. They've made a whole movie. They've made a whole movie. They've made a very popular song about how he cannot see through a simple snowstorm without the aid of
a reindeer.
A reindeer. He jerry-rigged a light onto the face of the reindeer, and that's the only way he got into the country. Now that's amazing, right? That's but anyway, that's some of the problems he faces. Let me know if you have any questions. I actually had to do some research because I usually don't deal with reindeer.
Well, it's unauthorized use of airspace, obviously, into in and out of countries. It's the scenario. Now, you could say if he's got Rudolph out there leading his sleigh, he's technically got some lighting on his aircraft, shall we say? But
it's questionable, isn't it? Sometimes he has it if he's not out and about. I mean, now the other thing he has to worry about is with the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Services of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Right? He is importing reindeer without any
there's the
kind
fish
of
and
permission
wildlife too.
That's correct. Did you know that under our laws, the only country you can import into the USA, you can import reindeer is from Canada. And I don't think he's coming from Canada. Maybe he lives in Canada. Again, there are no penguin in Canada, so we have no idea where he's coming from.
Well, you have no penguins that are indigenous to Canada. However, he may be utilizing some from zoos. What do you think about that?
Oh my goodness! He may be rent. There might be a rent a penguin situation here.
Rent a penguin, rent a reindeer. There you go.
But what else can I tell you about? He should also be worried about. Let me see. The issue about counterfeits, because it's a great problem with CBP. Right, they're always seizing merchandise that is fake, is pirated.
Yeah. Right.
And one of the ways to do that for a holder of intellectual property rights, for example, a trademark holder, is to register your trademark with CBP. And I found an interesting and kind of relevant registration of a trademark. It's for something called Peach Peddler, the Peach Peddler. And there are, again, teddy bears. Like, they're not as cute as the one I just showed you, Vine, but it's pretty cute. But if you were the owner of Peach Peddler and her name is Chris, you don't want to protect your intellectual property rights, and this person obviously has by registering. Excuse me, the word is recording with CBP. Thereby alerting CBP that this merchandise may be coming in when it shouldn't be, the fake merchandise. And I think that's something. And if people do enough of that, they might actually hold Santa accountable. What else can I tell you? The one thing I would recommend. Yes, go ahead.
What about? You said it right now. I know you kind of said it's below your breath, but it's very hot topic right now. What about forced labor?
Forced labor. The funny thing about that, and it's actually not a funny thing, but is that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and CBP, before the Uyghur issue, actually, and you can look it up on their website, these agencies' website, actually did. Right.
They've been pretty active in this realm for quite some time.
CBP has. They actually have press releases. One way back to 2012, they were warning Santa, and I'm not kidding. They were warning Santa about child labor and the dangers of importing reindeer. So obviously, he's known about this for the longest time. He just doesn't care. That's the issue for today. Santa does not care about you. That's the one, because he's not an upstanding citizen. And what else can I tell you? He doesn't treat his reindeer well, and but that
he feeds his he pays his labor with hot chocolate and I don't know, candy.
Cookies,
I guess
cookies or candy.
Cookies and
candy canes and hot chocolate. There you go.
Imagine if that's all you were fed all year round. I mean, that's all. You just had empty carbs thrown at you, probably at your feet, and then that's all you get. ho ho ho, right? I mean, that's not the one thing that he should be really serious about is tariff classification, and I would point him to Chapter 95 of the HTSUS, and I would also suggest that he look up binding rulings. I did a research on binding rulings with the search term teddy bears, and there's over 300 rulings, and they're all over the place. So he should be doing his informed compliance duty and reviewing some of those cases.
But keep in mind, here's the one thing about what Santa's doing. As he's going through, he's not entering into a selling transaction here. He's giving away all of these things. So, you can, why would you fault the idea of him giving a toy to a child? It's children too, on top of that. So he's trying to, have all these toys made, and then he's giving them away.
Again, I counter that, and I challenge that misunderstanding, a common misunderstanding. First of all, he sort of prefers the well-to-do areas of a town, right? That's because those people have better snacks and better cookies and better.
There you go.
It's an implied contract. Not only does he want something in return. Not only does he want something in return, he has thousands of his agents who dress up like him, and he sprinkles them all over the country, in malls, churches, whatever, parks.
Oh, now we've got the representatives in here. Okay,
right? They're his agents. They're taking his orders, right? And what does he do? He keeps a list, right? He keeps a list. It's not for who's good or bad, but who's good or bad in terms of credit risk. It's like a credit rating, what's your credit score? That's why he's taking names. If he has the higher credit, he's going to visit you. So it's not really giving. He's expecting a lot in return.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about it. Here he's got quite an organization that has infiltrated around the world, and not just
around the world. It's not a cartel because there's only one. It's just one person doing it. Just him. He's got it's what monopoly power. So
there you go, and the implied contract. I hadn't thought about that one. Is with the payment in milk and cookies, right?
Now, I would, if I were a sneaky lawyer, I would suggest that he do his contracts under something called DAP, an Incoterm. It's called delivered at place of, and Incoterms, as you know, are acronyms that dictate the liabilities and privileges under international sales agreement. What DAP does is it allows the manufacturer, the person selling merchandise, to deliver to your doorstep and then wash their hands, and then you are responsible. You, the recipient, are responsible for customs compliance and insurance, or whatever. So I think that's what mostly Santa is doing anyway, because he's not paying attention to any of the compliance formalities. I do also wonder if he's taking advantage of something called Section 321, the de minimis rule. Do y'all know what that is?
Yeah, the Section 321s. Oh, yeah. It's the
you
vast majority of the gifts are probably less than $200. It's considered a non-entry.
Okay, right. You have to raise it. The level is $800.
Oh, that's right. It is $800. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. That's right. I was actually part of the group to help push that to raise it. It is $800.
Since it's $800, that all of a sudden you have Amazon and other companies able to import without having to pay duties, and also, for example, avoiding the China tariffs, right? The steep China, and avoiding most of the entry requirements. I assume that he might be doing something like this. Whether he's doing it validly, I guess.
Well, it's
this
a de
Santa-
minimis entry, so it's considered, a non-entry type scenario is like that.
Sure. So
provided that you still declare it. There's the key thing.
Provided you declare it, right? That's an issue. Don't think he's doing that. And the one thing about and it is my only point about export compliance, because it's the only thing I really looked at, because it's such a humongous issue, and he has so many things that so many varieties of merchandise. The one thing I looked at is because he's into lists, so I was wondering what would happen if I plugged in his name into the consolidated list of bad parties that our government publishes.
Oh, the restricted party screening there.
You just plug in Santa and you get like 10 hits, which suddenly you wonder.
Oh, really?
Hey, wait a minute. Now I really have. If I'm an exporter or dealing with this guy, I really have to look at to see whether he's on the up and up. So, but that is my presentation.
So your message through all of this is you better check out anybody that claims to be Santa Claus or any derivative thereof. you better make sure that the proper Incoterms are utilized and the right parties have been vetted before you do business.
My real message is to invest in a good security system for your house and make sure that it's Santa proof. That make sure that he doesn't come close to your home, because you don't want to be involved with him.
As an accessory to a smuggling operation, correct?
Suddenly, right? That's what you would become.
Oh my goodness,
Oscar! This has been an excellent discussion. It's like it's one of those that some perspectives I haven't really heard on this. I've always heard that there's traditionally there's a lot of folks that will put out the problems with classification of what Santa's bringing forth and whatnot, but your spin on it's a whole different.
You took it a whole different direction. That's great.
The one that's got me is the agents that he's out there in his network.
Makes sense, doesn't it? I figured it all out.
There you go. And the implied contract. That's the other one that it gets me. It's like with the appropriate milk and cookies out there.
Yeah. Now, and a plug for me, if you were Santa, who would you hire, right?
Well, there you go.
Here I am, Santa, wherever you are.
Leave your business card next to the cookies this year.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I haven't let him into our house for a long time. I mean, I keep the fire on high in the chimney that night. Christmas Eve.
And gonna have to do an anti-magic type thing over the fireplace there. Well, Oscar, that was awesome. Quite entertaining, I will say. Lila, I was like, you and I think we're chuckling throughout this whole ordeal. That's been it's a lot of fun.
I couldn't stop laughing. Thank you, Oscar. I mean, you delivered just as I said. I did not undersell you, Oscar. I don't think. I mean, you always keep me entertained when your presentations. This is very typical of Oscar, actually. So if y'all ever have an opportunity to catch one of his webinars or trainings, gosh, you just got to do it. Or even read one of his art. I can't wait to see what you have for us for Valentine's or Easter.
Oh heavens, the Easter Bunny is in trouble now.
I don't need that kind of pressure, Lalo. I'm getting old here.
Cupid, you better keep flying there, buddy. There we go.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you, though.
As we close this out, I will say that to our listeners and all of that is our hope that you have a fantastic. Obviously, we had a little bit of fun today, but we really do hope that y'all have a wonderful holiday season, and that Merry Christmas from me and my family in the Memphis area. And Lalo, I hope you and even you, not even you, I didn't mean it that way, Oscar. I mean, it's just like you and your family as well. Merry Christmas to you. and hope that you have a good family time together.
Yeah, same to you, Andy, and Oscar. I mean, I've known Oscar and his family, and we've had dinner a few times, and so I know him personally, and same. I mean, hopefully y'all have a good Christmas and New Year, and 2023 is as good as 2022 seemed to have been. I mean, I'm glad that I've seen business pick up on all ends, so hopefully it keeps on going that way. And so Merry Christmas to you, Ruth, and your daughter as well.
See you next time.
Thank you very much for joining us. Simply Trade is brought to you by the generous contributions of Global Training Center. You can follow the show and GTC on LinkedIn or Twitter and other social networks. Make sure you check out the show notes in the description for a full rundown of today's show with all the important links. Also, make sure that you share this with a friend and subscribe on your favorite streaming platform. We really like hearing from you. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to rate and review wherever you listen to this podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest in the show or would like to sponsor Simply Trade or suggest any topic you would like for us to discuss, please contact us via email at simplytrade@globaltrainingcenter.com, or you can DM us on Twitter at simplytradepod. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. Happy trading. Simply Trade is not a law firm or an advisor. The topics and discussions conducted by Simply Trade hosts and guests should not be considered and is not intended to substitute legal advice. You should seek appropriate counsel for your own situations. These conversations and information are directed towards listeners in the United States for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only and should not be substituted for legal advice. No listener or viewer of this podcast should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information on this podcast without first seeking legal advice from counsel. Information on this podcast may not be up to date depending on the time of publishing and the time of viewership. The content of this posting is provided as is. No representations are made that the content is error-free. The views expressed in or through this podcast are those of the individual speakers, not those of their respective employers or Global Training Center as a whole. All liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the contents of this podcast are hereby expressly disclaimed.